This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl, episode number 168. Tim Dahl hammered and in Germany at 3 a.m.
I'm not in Germany. I'm in Warsaw,
Oh,
Poland.
you're in Warsaw. Okay, fine. So, look, there's been
It's 3 a.m. It's true. That is true.
I was singing 3 a.m. by Eminem, waiting for you to come on. You missed the hurricane, I guess, which is devastating Florida.
Which one?
The Canadian one.
Well, I had to fly to Europe, and basically it was extended because we had to fly north of the Faroe Islands into Copenhagen because that was the tail end of Ian, which kind of ripped the shit out of fucking Canada.
Wow,
and the turbulence was no fucking joke. Yeah, it was insane, actually. But we arrived. They did it.
Well, Florida's going to be completely devastated, probably.
Well, specifically West Coast, and we actually, one of a mutual musician that we played with, in-laws, decided to stay there and not evacuate, and
that's their problem, not mine.
They can't get a hold of it.
No, the first problem is if you have in-laws, that's a problem to me. There's been a lot of dumb shit said this week, especially I think my favorite one was the orange ass clown saying, well, I declassified everything. If I think about it, if I thought about it, it's declassified. All right, that's one thing that was just so freaking dumb. This is another thing, and this is another idiot that the ass clown promotes. She's from the rib of a man. Herschel Walker defines what a woman is at a campaign event. At a campaign event in Georgia, Republican Senate candidate, how the hell even, Herschel Walker defined woman as a person created from the rib of a man. Yeah, you know what? The only ribs I'm descended from is the ones I put in my mouth and eat. Nice. And I prefer if they were men's ribs. Let me tell you about that. So, well, sure. This is just getting so ridiculous.
Well, Herschel Walker,
a wife abuser, batterer, or more children than he claims,
or a TV celebrity like Donald Trump. This is what basically Republicans have doubled down on. And guess who's sitting on the sidelines enjoying all this is DeSantis. And so this hurricane, as we speak, it's about to devastate the west coast of Florida.
Well, maybe someone will admit that it's God's wrath since they believe in him for everything else.
Yeah, my prediction is he's actually pretty competent, even though he's a horrible human being. And this is all the stage for him to basically run for presidency.
Yeah, well, you know what? We've had crappy presidents almost our entire history. So what's another asshole in a position of power that wants to dominate all the rest of us?
Well, what about Putin and the pipelines being blown up in the Baltic?
He's another great liar. Just blame it on anybody else.
But
right now, wind gust. Wait. Category 5. Right now, wind gust of 180 miles per hour.
No. You're wrong. Sustained winds at 155, which for your European or outside American listeners, that's 205 kilometers an hour. Gusts. 155 is sustained winds. 205 kilometers an hour, sustained winds.
Gusts
of 190 miles per hour, 305 kilometers an hour.
And surges of
stories. Depends where you are. Between Naples and Sarasota, you're looking at 16 to 18 feet, which is basically 6 meters. And that's not waves. That is literally a tide coming up. You're fucked.
And, no, can't possibly be because of climate change. All the spin, it's birthing tornadoes. The lightning strikes are amazing. And Florida is going down. And I have to say, there's a lot of crappy states. And we have many friends in Florida, but there's a lot of fucking ignorant politicians and perverts who call that their home. And you know what? Maybe they won't have a home soon, and they'll realize how many millions of Americans who don't have a home fucking feel for a change.
So Lydia, me and you just traveled. We were in Tennessee, and we had 2 experiences. One was
more than that.
One. Well, we had many, but on logistical scales or just on airports and airlines. And the second one is the new Jeffrey Dahmer documentary or docudrama, I should say. So which one should we go into first?
You can go to the airport because that came first. 5
Well,
hour delay.
we have a 6 hour delay. That's not even the problem. So when I have a 6 hour delay with you, you're so cool. We will make it happen. But Mike Lowe of I think Louisiana, he basically has a flight, no big deal. 2 years later, he gets arrested and is thrown in jail for 17 days. Of course, not 17 years, because a duty-free person claimed he'd stolen something and went on this flight. Yeah, exactly. He's suing the fuck out of it because he proved already through the cameras it wasn't him. But this guy has like all these types of social issues like Asperger's and basically, exactly. The list is long with this guy. So he's weird and like basically he's uncomfortable and no one wants to be around the guy. He's like, he's all manic. But because of that, basically some stewardess, basically like he did it because the person that stole the shit was on the same plane and they had to blame someone for shoplifting from his duty free. And then of course his lawyer proved it was never him. He was thrown in jail for 17 days, 2 years later.
That's so ridiculous. I mean, something better to go after, perhaps, like people that just attack stewardesses, try to break into the cockpit, try to open the emergency doors, whatever. All right, next.
Jeffrey Dahmer. So Lydia and I were enjoying the last show.
Well, first of all, the day before the last show, there was a black 1950-something hearse, insides gutted, at the Chapel thrift shop parking lot in Asheville, North Carolina, called Fleetwood's, which we love playing at. So one night we have a hearse in the parking lot. The next night we are staying a half a block from a graveyard in a trailer. Which I did book, and we had a great time.
Well, Lydia claims she'd never stayed in a trailer. I take her word for it.
I'm underprivileged. What can I say?
But the trailer was very comfortable. I slept deeply. But
when I walked in, though, Tim, what happened when I walked in? I walked in, and in the bathroom,
you heard a ghost.
I heard someone say hello. And I'm like, hello? No one there.
I believe it. I believe that.
I also told you that I heard a ghost fart at the Chelsea Hotel, but that's another story. If a ghost farts, it's probably just air. And probably, since you can't even see a ghost, you probably can't smell one either. Go ahead.
Well, I was hanging out.
On the porch of the trailer.
Yes, with our accompanist.
Harlow Crandall.
Yeah, exactly. And we're just enjoying ourselves with a little Tennessee whiskey. Suddenly Lydia is like sideways, peering through the window, coming up through the rims, just eyes, going back and forth. Like, what the hell's going on? Sneaking around
with a large Cuisinart knife.
I have to say, I've never seen the inner child in you like I saw that night. You were so excited about this Jeffrey Dahmer docudrama.
Evan Peters is one of my favorite actors, and I have to say, I was eating ribs while he was. This is my favorite line in the first episode. I want to hear your heartbeat. Why? Because I'm gonna eat it. All right. All women love serial killers until they get one as a boyfriend. You know that line.
Well, the thing is,
I is enjoying myself.
Dave Budden, who reads a book and thinks he's that character for a month. Like, some of my friends, but like, that was kind of an exciting glimpse of you, like watching TV and jumping around.
Then the rake came out. The rake came out the next day.
Well, the inanimate horror rake was another experience.
Well, it could have been more horrifying if you were actually sprayed by the skunk you saw running around the premises.
Well, skunks they claim they're great pets if you degland them. And yeah, exactly. But you could smell those things from a mile away. And I jiggled my keys to make sure that thing ran. And I saw it. It ran from the cat bowl that the lady of the Airbnb laid out for a feral cat. Like, okay, you're asking for animals, but okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna tie this up with this. I found this story very interesting and wish I could suffer the same consequence. Woman suffers from a rare condition, meaning she can't hear men's voices. Okay. Now,
This is a good one.
have you ever experienced a situation when you're talking to someone and they don't give you a response, but if a woman talks to them, they reply? Well, it is pretty rare, but they might not be turning a deaf ear to you because this literally happened to a woman who could not hear her boyfriend and thought she had gone deaf. But it turned out that she had not gone deaf after all when she heard a woman speaking. Pretty confusing, but don't worry, everything will be cleared up at the end of this article. So, anyway, this woman in China has this rare condition where she can't hear certain frequencies. And she woke up one day and just couldn't hear her boyfriend, couldn't hear, and it's called reverse slope hearing loss, also known as low frequency hearing loss. And patients suffering from this condition are unable to hear low pitch sounds, which men possess. As per healthy hearing. However, the patient can hear women's voices since the pitch is higher, although, of course, my voice gets lower with every passing year. But the doctor revealed that this condition progresses when the patient is under stress and also can be passed down genetically. The woman also divulged that she had been under quite a lot of stress and wasn't getting enough sleep. And hello, and there you go. Anyway, I just hope that one day I suffer the same fucking fate.
I'm going to take with this. I actually know a little about this. Any frequency, whether you're working power tools or if you're a heterosexual in a nagging situation, this is actually proven. A lot of men's hearing is lost on kind of like the oboe frequency, if they're straight, with their girlfriends and wives once they're elderly, if they've been the same one. Like,
well, I mean, men often pretend they can't hear women talking, so that's very obvious.
They use that, but basically, if this woman in China must be like she must be into certain men for low frequencies that erode the hairs.
Well, the difference between
that's a lot of men.
The difference between her, you, and me, Tim, is we are in love with the sound of our own voices. This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, episode number 168. Our guest is Brontez Purnell. Welcome. Don't be shy. This is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch and Tim Dahl. We have, as always, a special guest. This time it's Brontez Purnell. Now, let me tell you about him, her, it, they, them. Goes by everything, I think. Writer, musician, dancer, filmmaker, performance artist, the author of a graphic novel, a novella, a children's book. We'll talk about this some other day. The novel Since I Laid My Burden Down, and one of my favorites, 100 Boyfriends, a collection of stories. Also has written for TV like American Gigolo, got some experience in that, I bet. Had Queer as Folk experience in that, I bet. Holds an MFA. How did you fit all this in? Holds an MFA in art practice from the University of California, Berkeley, and a BFA in dance and theater. Recipient of an award in 2018, was named one of the 32 most important Black male writers of our time. Iceberg Slim is up there with you, I hope. In the New York Times Style magazine in 2018. Also fronts the band.
Long introduction.
It's the longest because I want people to know this motherfucker. Okay.
I love it.
Also the frontman thing, it, she, it, what it depends on in drag or not. And of the Younger Lovers, don't we all like them that way? Experimental dance group, the Brontez Purnell Dance Company, and that is experimental, honey. That is experimental. Shut the fuck up for a minute, Tim. For once, I'm talking to somebody.
I can't help myself because it keeps on going.
It's going to keep on going.
Impressive. It's that impressive.
Listen, if you want money from white art people, you better list everything you have done since you.
It's not possible, brother. It's not possible.
So I want.
And I'm glad you take it. You should take it.
Excuse me.
All day.
I want money from you after you get it from the white folk. I just want to read your. Quiet down, Tim. I'm talking. To quote Farrakhan, I'm talking. Put some duct tape on it. Put the butt plug in.
I said a few things.
Put the butt plug in. You want to read it, Tim? No, because you don't have it.
Our guest is making so many gestures of acceptance to every
excuse me,
clout you gave this
quiet down.
And now you're telling me to shut up. Okay, let's do it.
I'm going to have 5 minutes of silence on your part before
Simon,
turn him off in the recording. Simon, shut him down.
Let's do it.
You know what? I would say your artist statement is belligerent, loud, knows everything, and that's why I love you, a damn good bass player. Now, let me get on to Brontez. As an art statement, when you have one, I'll be happy to hear it.
I want to
quiet down.
It keeps on going.
Forget it. I'll have you read it. I'm going to send it to you, and you're going to record it. And then
it's an impressive list. It keeps on going. I want to hear it.
You keep on going, and you're talking loud, saying nothing. Now, quiet the fuck down.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear the truth.
This is the statement of a young, predatory, drug-taken, multi-sexual weirdo of the highest order. Thank you very much. This is what he says. She, it, they, whatever you want to call yourself. I do not define you. This is how you define yourself. In art, I tend to lean into a radically open understanding of form and body to create work that combines punk rock subversion and free jazz improvisation. Now, I'm going to stop there because that crosses all the I'm not going to say boundaries. It erases boundaries to which you extend beyond in doing your art. Now, Brontez Purnell, why don't you read us something so that we can validate all my long wind and having Tim Dahl be quiet for a few minutes. Hey.
Okay. I was trying to find the story, but I found it. Okay. From 100 Boyfriends, and it's called Boyfriend 666, The Satanist. I had out-trolled myself once again. I wanted trenchcoat mafia dick, so I started putting out dating ads looking for adult players of Magic the Gathering. I was curious to see what would come from the net I had cast, and the answer would be standing in front of me sooner rather than later. I got a late-night text from a gentleman caller who said he was a 9th level warlock and that he could teach me both the fantasy games and blow my back out. I got to his house and I was literally so not prepared. Like I thought I was, but that fool was on his 9th level warlock swag so hard. Before me stood a grown-ass man with surgically implanted fangs, contact lenses, and an inverted pentagram tattoo on his forehead. The tattoo distracted from his gentle features. He really was a pretty guy, though he fucked in a very ugly way. He asked me about my own inverted pentagram tattoo, and I was like, oh, well, really, I'm a romantic Satanist. I believe in Satan as an allegory and as like literary vehicle, and really his being the story of anarchy and patriarchal defiance. Silence, poser, he said and advanced on me. Before I could realize that I had not fully consented to it, I was naked with a belt around my neck and being choked to the gods. He made me repeat, fuck God, hail Satan, over and over and over again. And also, you are just a faggot home for Satan's sons, to which I rolled my eyes. If this was Satan's best sex warrior, it stood to reason why Satanism in general was such a PR nightmare. His stroke game was at about 58%, and considering how much goddamn plot was involved, I still felt like instead of fucking him, I should have just like eaten a cheeseburger or goofed around on the internet. He had a box of condoms with inverted pentagram insignia on them because apparently Satanists have their own brand of condoms. I could not understand why a thrall of the Dark Lord would even bother, but I said nothing and let him fuck me despite my mild latex allergy. He came in like 3 minutes and then showed me how to play Magic the Gathering as promised. And though I never fucked him again, I still to this day meet him every other Wednesday to play the game.
Oh, yeah, and immediately I can relate to you because we're both extremely judgmental. I really appreciate that. Every step of the way, you're making judgments. The thing is, you're not prejudiced. Prejudice is prejudge. You don't prejudge. You just judge. And you just saw what happened and you did it. I really appreciate that one. Great
I'm going to take an opposite tact on that and say you are wide open for chunky in every direction.
I mean, listen, I've experimented. I've been in California 20 years, you know.
Honey, after coming out of Alabama, you had a lot to catch up on, I'm sure.
You know, I think I had crazier sex in Alabama than
Duh. Can I ask you where in Alabama are you from?
Triana. It's outside of Huntsville. It's an hour south of Nashville. It's right on the state line.
Okay, so you have this, you have a little Chattanooga in you. You have a little. There's that vortex around there.
I lived in Chattanooga. Yes.
Yes, and Lydia and I just came back from there. So you're touching Appalachia a little bit. You're going down into the valley.
We felt the vortex. You left.
Yes, I am quite technically an Appalachian boy.
Can I ask you, your ambition and your drive and your motivation is so clear, and basically, I don't know.
Mania.
I don't know if it is maybe mania, maybe revenge. It might just be cathartic based on just what you want to be and the geography that you want to be in. How did you step outside of Alabama? I mean, I was just kind of close to that region with Lydia. It seems pretty liberated, actually, politically not, but the environment actually
some
pretty
counties
tolerant.
Some counties.
So why did you leave, and when did you leave, and why? Yeah, why did you leave?
I was 18, but okay. So my grandmother's brother. Here we go. My great grandfather played blues. He was a blues musician, and he made so much money he didn't have to pick cotton. So he had a wife, and he also had a servant girl.
What years?
From this is about late 20s to early 40s. My grandmother's brother was named J.J. Malone, and he came to California in the 60s. He started this blues club up the street called Eli's Mile High. He worked for Fantasy Records. He played with like Big Mama Thornton and like Creedence and all those motherfuckers. Anyway, he had this crazy white hippie girlfriend, and they would come back to Alabama every year. And they knew they were from the West Coast. They knew I was gay, but out of like his 30-something nieces and nephews, I was the only one that could play guitar like his dad. And so he'd always be like, okay, you need to come to California and play music. But I was already a punk. Like I was already like playing, but I also definitely come from this like music lineage. And so Oakland was just like where I was going to end up. Like,
well, I want to say something about your music because it's very unpredictable, the kind of music you do, because it's got a bit of surf in it, which is weird. It's kind of punky. It does remind me of like Kid Congos, who Retroverse will be playing with soon in Los Angeles. And it kind of has this weird, different, it's not what you would expect, which I have to respect.
Yeah, it was. I feel like the town, it also is like what town you were in, I think, what punks do. And like Huntsville at the time in the 90s was very, very garage. Like it was very that. And so
and that's the influence I hear is kind of surf and garage. I mean, a little surf here and there, which is weird. You also use a live band, 1, 2, or 3 musicians when you do your dance pieces.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. As well as mopping the floor with black paint sometime. I saw that one.
Oh, yeah. That was at No New Art Fest. Well, when I started, I came here and I was go-go dancing for this band Gravy Train. And then I was at Laney College, and this woman recruited me to be in this Afro-Haitian dance company. And I knew like my family were like, not Pentecostal, but like Baptist, like screaming church kind of people. So, yeah, like I went and joined this African dance company, not knowing that it was like Vodou, like it was a religion. I don't know, I kind of got hip to that. And after I got sick of playing punk shows, I was like, I still want to do theater. I was a punk so long that I never thought of punk as like theater or like a church or anything like that. I wasn't making all the connections, but I was like, I want to dance and do this. But having a live band is something that when I danced with African companies, they always had live bands. But most modern dance at the time were just white girls in slips, like, you know, being scared on stage. And I wanted to do something more punk. So
when did you officially announce that you're a homosexual?
I was probably about 15 or 16, but also like they fucking, like, I feel like they knew. And I hear a lot of people that have a lot of crazy horror stories or whatever. My family was more or less, I see how really fucking liberal my family is. Cause yeah, like my mom is like a fucking Christian, but she's definitely seen me suck dick in an art movie on fucking the internet before. And like when I told my mom that I had HIV, her first thing was like, I bet you don't even know who you caught it from. And I was like, you know, most moms will be crying. And my mom was just like, you fucking whore.
Well, I mean, look, whoa. I mean, so your mom was Christian, but was she Catholic or was she Baptist?
No, Baptist. I think it's because it's my mom. It's like there's mostly women in my family. And it's very like, I don't know if I want to go that far, but
I want to go this far. I want to say that, you know, as far as Catholicism goes, I always said Jesus was gay, a drug dealing, prostitute loving, gorging on food motherfucker who did so many drugs that he passed out for 2 days and then was resurrected and the cartel killed him. That's just my opinion.
Fuck.
Well, can I ask you this? Because I've hung with Lydia in like homicidal racist cop bars in South Brooklyn, and we'd have black gay guys hang out because they're living in the Caribbean neighborhoods, and they'd rather hang out with homicidal racist white cops than be hanging out at the Caribbean fucking bars.
The first cop I ever fucked, I was so fucking pissed because I thought he was
my God.
Me in a room and like show me what was up. I thought I was gonna get walked around on a dog leash through the window. He wanted me to top. But anyway, no, I think if you don't feel safe anywhere, you essentially feel safe everywhere, or like your chances are about the goddamn same anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, in a very general statement, I feel like my sex life composes mostly of like down low fucking men I meet on this app. They don't even send pics. I just let them fuck me, right? And people are like, but he's like emotionally unavailable. How can you deal with such a man? And I'm just like, what faggots aren't emotionally unavailable?
Excuse me, don't restrict it to just faggots. Don't be restrictive, honey. A lot of men are not emotionally available. And if they could at least fuck like a faggot, they might be, well, I'm just saying nothing.
Are you a power bottom or are you a top?
I can
both.
The switch?
Man, I just want to get fucking fucked right. I started taking testosterone. I'm 40 now. Put me on testosterone.
More female or male?
Why?
Testosterone.
My body stopped making it just genetically. I'm one of those men where I just have low testosterone. If you see me,
really?
I got a fat ass and like really clear skin. I'm basically a fucking woman. So they just had to like 40 and they were like, here, let's get you some testosterone.
Well, by the way, I want to ask you because I saw a few pictures, not enough though, of you in drag sitting on a toilet looking like, I can't say Millie Jackson because it wasn't the same pose, but what is this performance drag, fun drag? How often do you do drag?
No, I don't do drag. That was just
one picture.
Interview Magazine, and I was interviewing John Waters, and they were like, do you want to be Divine? And I was like, no, I want to be Cookie Mueller. And that's as close as they could get me to Cookie Mueller.
Well, you were on the Mosswood Festival, and now we're going to be on it next week with John Waters again, hosting, who I've asked many times about that casting couch. He won't let me on because he doesn't have one, motherfucker. Just saying.
Is it true you're this happy all the time?
Yeah, I have more fun than most, goddammit. They snatched me up young, the party gods. I couldn't have love, but I haven't drank in 3.5 years.
What are you doing instead? Instead of drinking, what are you doing?
Oh, yeah. I just did my first weed commercial. Like this company up in Northern California gave me a whole ounce of weed just to promote them on my Instagram. It was great. I'm high right now.
Obvious.
Do you like speedy, scary weed? Do you like mellow weed? What's your weed zone?
No, I don't care. Just put it in me.
Whoa, great answer.
You've been a bit of a garbage head and a garbage bottom in the past. And maybe you still are, honey, because let's face it, what does not kill us makes us want to kill it again and again. True that.
Oh.
Have you ever been terrified on psychedelics? Have you ever taken LSD or some mushrooms or something that's like, I'm scared tonight?
Okay, first of all, I don't like psychedelics. My world is crisp and sharp enough.
Ooh.
I am not a cockhead. I'm a factory kid, because the cockheads did psychedelics. Factory kids just dressed mod and did speed. Speed is probably more I want to wash the dishes in a methodical manner, sequential order.
Did you make your bed before we set this up? I don't think so. I'm looking at it.
No, I
know you spend a lot of time.
What do you prefer, cocaine or speed? I mean, like one makes you more horny, one makes you more.
Cocaine or speed, definitely cocaine. But I have to say, I'm like a 2000s. I haven't done cocaine heavily since my 20s. And in my 20s, now that I look back on it, I don't think that was cocaine at all. I definitely think that was speed.
Right.
Now I got to cut in and just say this. How the hell, you dirty, dastardly, wonderful weirdo, how did you get invited to be a staff writer on American Gigolo and Queer as Folk. Who the hell did you, I would say, who did you blow? But that doesn't even matter at this point. The list is too long.
No, I actually have a college degree. My head game is garbage, which you can have a garbage head game if you have the degree. You have to have one or the other.
Garbage degree.
Queer as Folk, Steven, the producer, he had been courting me for like 5 years. Like, I did this indie rock porno called I Want Your Love in 2012, back when I was, still selling pussy and young and shit. And then he saw that movie and liked the job that I did. I basically wrote my part myself or whatever. And so he was like, oh, I want to like get you in on this project. He had been fucking developing that shit forever, but he had read my books in the interim and got me in there. And then I'm part of this writer circle where just randomly they were looking for someone at HBO and they needed someone to write the part for the black pimp that was going to be.
Hello, Iceberg Slim comes back to play.
So talk to me about your pimp history then.
I have never been a pimp. I have been a young
pimp itself.
No, like, but you say you sold pussy. You said that a minute ago.
But, no, I know, but like pimp, like that. Those are such different energies, and I think it doesn't correlate to. It doesn't correlate to male sex work. I think in the way it's supposed to, which I think is like probably the battle of watching American Gigolo. It's like women don't actually pay for dick, like.
Well, you know what? I mean, hang on. If they could supply the service, if they could actually, if you could find a place that could supply the services women actually wanted, they would have no problems paying for it. Pay for it and leave it alone.
There is one place on earth, and it's not what most women want, but it's the country of Japan, where you go into Shinjuku and you have billboards like Sagawa, the hunk of the month with his Fabio haircut. And it's a heterosexual dick for heterosexual women sold to Japanese housewives that are too old to have babies at this point, or the better or more interesting scenario, the counterbalance of the yin and yang of the exploited female sex workers that have been exploited so much, they're the ones that hire them most of the time and want to balance themselves by hiring the male fucking prostitutes. Japan's a different game. That's a different game. Yeah.
If you can't find it where you want it, but you want it and you can afford it, good luck finding it. God damn, that is a twister. Now let me ask you this: have you ever sold? Look, you were a go-go dancer, baby. Have you ever sold your services?
I remember when I first was here and I was 22 and I was talking to this other hooker boy who was just, that classic San Francisco gorgeous. And this is so condescending, but he's like, well, with you, I have a good companion. Like he was saying that I'm not the one that can just come up and demand money, slang some dick and demand lots of money. But like, if I was kept as a prize pet, that's where I would fucking, make my money. But, and also, not that I don't consider them clients, but my next 3 boyfriends after that was very much the energy. Like, ugh.
You got to get it where you can get it. And you know what? Whoever has it should give it, is what I think.
They were just punk boys who didn't live in a warehouse with 12 other people. So I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to marry up.
Oh, well, you are nothing if not exotic, honey. Nothing if not exotic with your erotic.
Oh my God.
So how old were you when you found out you're HIV positive?
28.
It's not a death sentence anymore at all. So was there still a stigma? What was your emotional response to this reality?
Okay, it's also, I think, like, just San Francisco at the time. I also think I was running with some boys who were just kind of like bug chaser adjacent or something. And the idea was like, what do you mean we can't have sex without a condom? We can do whatever we want. We're wasted all the time. I feel like if I could do anything, I would go back in time and like change that little snippet of information or just kind of update myself. Because it was just like I feel like when you're like a punk kid and you're in some place and there's lots of new ideas, really, we call ourselves punks. Some of us are more on the flower child scale, I think, willfully non-judgmental. It's horrible. But I learned to be weary of everybody that was selling freedom with something. because it was like they were selling it. Like if they had just said like, yo, like it's like dick feels good, that's one thing. But but the idea of like, this is a liberatory act. This is how we're gonna get ourselves out of this rut. This is that I think was like weird, or like that's the part where I felt like I was at the bottom of a Ponzi scheme. But other than that, like I said, I've had fun the most, bitch. Like this is like back before Grindr, bitch. Like fucking.
But I get it.
2006, before Grindr made every gay man feel like they were ordering DoorDash for sex, you had to be at the 300 men at the bathhouse, lights out party. I could go in with a fucking not fifth of Jack. What's smaller than a fifth of Jack?
A mini, whatever.
And that's back when I used to be able to get a fucking 20 bag of cocaine that fucking worked. I will go into that goddamn bag at 9 o'clock that night and not leave till 7 in the goddamn morning.
All right, so a nip and a 20 and the sweet spot between the fucking
back when still get hard on drugs. Like that's how long ago that shit was, bitch. Like I do drugs now. That shit is soft as a pussy. It's not going nowhere.
Well, so the gay community was on the forefront of all the sexual transgressions, including death, the AIDS epidemic, and basically as there's treatment to basically make sure you don't die. Early 2000s, like fuck this. You fucking put the shackles on us for fucking last 20 years. Let's do it. And but it still existed. And
well, the problem now, hang on. The problem now is the uprise of syphilis and gonorrhea, curable if you know you have it. That is the problem. The other problem is there are bug chasers, and that to me is kind of ridiculous. Like I choose life, thank you very much, just so I can have more sex, more drugs, and more motherfucking rock and roll. That's all I'm saying.
And also too, it's like the advent of PrEP like kind of really declawed any type of bug chasing. Like so anybody doing that shit these days, you can go get gay birth control, bitch. You can just go take loads all goddamn day, which is why I think it's a huge shift in like there are more down low men having sex in fucking public spaces than ever before. Men that feel so comfortable being like, oh, I have a wife, or I have this, or I have that. And the only theory I can come up with is because PrEP is here now and the drugs have gotten better, or you can have a drug and not catch it at all. But I also think it shifts the idea back. Let me not get too far, but it does shift everything back to this kind of normativity where it's like anyone in the guild before had to be really, because there was the death threat or whatever, it was such a strong signifier. That's where you met them firebranded motherfucking faggots. Whereas now, since things are safer, I'm sitting in a more diluted pool. Like,
all right, let's get into another reading.
So, boyfriend 4 1/4, the drummer. What does love feel like? I'd imagine a rush, or as a poet once put it, 20 million tom-toms. Either way, I went to an artist lecture with my boyfriend, the drummer, and I remember the artist saying specifically, incoherence, the point where you are in the middle of making something and it no longer looks like art to you. My butthole puckered when she said it, and I looked at my boyfriend for eye contact because what else is a boyfriend for but to share a mutual epiphany? That nigga was sleep as fuck. I even tried to decipher incoherence in his snoring, but no, he was all rhythm, even in his dreams. His snoring read like little kitten purrs of breath. It even read like drum tablature, left, right, left, triplet, etc. We walked home in the streetlights and I saw the pattern of his steps, left, right, left. He wore all black like his teacher, a jazz master from some forgotten decade whose records he always played when I was walking around naked in his apartment. His beard was thick like a black man's, and without it, he looked Arab. My mother is black, he explained. The white man whose record was always playing when I was naked is his father. If incoherence truly is the point where art no longer looks like art to you, then I guess a drummer can never be a real artist because even an incoherent still a beat. No drum strike is ever truly out of place, even when it tries not to be. You never stop looking like art to me, I said, all curled up naked and lighting a joint under his black-clad body. And he held me for 3 more beats that hold space into forever.
So let me ask you this. What do you think of revenge porn? I have a hunch you still get a little jealous.
Do you ever get jealous I psych myself out of being jealous because I'm just like jealousy. It can only happen. I always want such different things from the next bitch. Like my taste and what I need are so specific. If I don't see them getting all of that on the terms which I would accept them, I can't count it as jealousy.
Look, and I did look. I had felt jealous once. Delete.
You've never
Cancer.
you've never met a motherfucker that roped you in, that was sensitive enough to actually take in what you are and actually appreciated every dimension that you projected and what they received, vice versa,
or what they could handle.
You were never hurt. No.
That's not hurting being jealous. That's two different things. Jealousy is just evil energy, cancer energy.
Fine. In your
All
own
right,
way.
Go back to revenge porn.
Fine.
No,
were you ever heartbroken?
Yes, deeply. But then also, it's like most of the worthless motherfuckers I loved. Like I can't even blame them. In my youth, I felt comfortable blaming them, but I look back and I'm just like,
blame yourself, baby.
I know why I picked these boys, and there was, to be honest, as much as I hate some of them, there were no other men on earth that could have handled me at that time.
At that point.
Yeah,
I get you.
Yeah,
Revenge porn. What do you think about revenge porn?
I mean, it's so like different. There was this recent gay movie where there was a revenge porn plot, and I just didn't buy it because with OnlyFans, who ain't fucking on the internet? Like, I feel like it's been so declawed, the idea of a sex tape. You wouldn't even recognize most people. The top 10 most popular people that make porn in that world, most of us would not even recognize who they are. It's not like a golden age moment. I don't think anyone should be like shamed for sex. And I also don't
ashamed for having it and not liking it the next morning.
Yeah, totally. And even if like, I mean, I would not want someone to like be videotaping me and not like telling me. But also, I don't, I float in such fucked up circles. Like,
and also, you're naked. You're naked off and on stage anyway. So what is it? Is it much of a difference? No, not really. I want to go back. I want to go back to you reading Sylvia Plath in the 6th grade.
Oh yeah, it was a reader, and it was that poem Mushrooms. And I remember, like, it was a rough childhood, but I always remember that last line being like, by morning we shall inherit the earth, our foot's in the door. And I remember being like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was the uptake, right?
Better our foot's in the door than our head's in the oven.
Okay, wow. I had a friend of mine who thought she actually baked her head, and I was like, no, bitch, she gassed herself. What are you talking about?
Who'd you go on to from there? Because I know you, like I, the bottom line is, even if it's involving dance, words are still the most important thing.
Yes.
So, I mean, who did you graduate from Sylvia Plath? Because both of us were turned on to, out literature at a very early age. And it helped to define and helped us to create what we needed to create. Voices that nobody else was speaking in the tone of.
Yes. I went it was from there to, I think, like punk, like just punk, like first really like MTV stuff, but then I got a Kill Rock Stars catalog. I started my band when I was 17. I was in this band with this other Black girl in Alabama, and the older punk dude that recorded us showed us your Richard Kern films when I was 17 and she was 18. And like, I was used to porn because like my older cousins had watched it, but she had grown up alone with like her like mom or whatever. I don't think she'd ever seen it, but like I remember that it was shit like that. It was Bruce LaBruce movies. Somebody had given me the gay issue of Maximum Rock and Roll from 1992. And I was like, this was probably 97, 98. And I was reading the 92 issue being like, oh, I got to find all these people.
I did not know that I penetrated your young psyche so soon. And I'm going back in for another dip.
Yeah. Use me. No,
it will hurt. But you're a big boy and you can take it, honey. Oh yeah.
Have you seen my Grindr photos? Yes, I can definitely.
Why now? Excuse me. Why would I see those? Have you seen mine?
Yeah, we all have. We know.
Yeah, but I was grinding. I wasn't on Grindr.
Oh my god.
That's right.
All of it. But wait, but literary wise, Probably like a lot of weird 90s like zines, like Weird People's Manifesto-y zines. And then another teacher gave me Nikki Giovanni's Cotton Candy on a Rainy Day. And then I had one teacher that was the rabbi's wife, and she would give me banned books. And she was the first one that gave me like banned books about like in Alabama at the time, you had to have a section on civil rights and like the Holocaust or whatever. They taught you other, like once you left that classroom, though, it was a bunch of white people just being like, God owns the universe. Don't you? We had there was a disclaimer in our science books that was just like Darwinism is just a theory. Like they had to have a sticker in there. I remember that. I don't know if they still have that.
You know what? I mean, that was in the 80s or the 70s, 80s, 90s. We're going backwards to the 50s and before that now, as far as what rights are all about.
Well, let me be a little more bold. Would you agree Black America is more homophobic than white America?
Absolutely no. Americans.
No.
Americans, how they deal with it in sociality can be very, very different. In reality, it's probably about the same thing. I have met plenty of like down low fucking white boys from the most liberal bubbles you have ever imagined, who are some of like the biggest fucking monsters. Like I think white homogeny or white culture like is every bit as homophobic as Black American culture and white culture. Like I just think bleed into each other in so many fucking ways. Like
I wish they bled more.
Yeah.
Are you a poacher? I mean, do you like DL motherfuckers more than you like openly homosexual guys?
I tend to want the thing that I get the least of. And right now, since I feel like I'm on the fucking DL sex spectrum, I'm like, oh, I should go date a fucking gay boy and go through that hell again. It's about time. But
you want real hell? Go date a woman, honey.
I'm married to a woman. I have my art wife bought me a wedding ring.
Where does she sleep?
She lives down the street.
Right. That's the way to do it. Exactly.
I mean, Bruce was saying he's a closeted straight guy. And basically,
I'm not closeted. I just identify as all things, but not to all people.
I am not a straight guy. You're never going to catch me using 3-in-1 soap. Like, ill. Like,
I might catch you in a 3-in-1 though. Soap or no soap, baby. No. Soap it up. Keep it clean. Look at you. You're all cuddly and shit.
No. Were you ever gay bashed?
Yeah. Are you kidding? Yeah. I have this new poetry book that I'm writing. I'm probably going to deliver it to City Lights, but it's called Diary of Dead Bachelors. And it's about like, just different. It's about like the logical end of toxic masculinity and men dying alone. My biggest fear is like just dying of an overdose in a bachelor apartment, like my dad and stepdad. Like, but it's about that. And there's this one where like one of the dead bachelors has been gay bashed, and it just goes, he hadn't planned on being gay bashed that day, but dear God, who would?
Look, that's beautiful because the stats that no one wants to really talk about, particularly, I'm not here to sell this as the ownership of suffering. American white straight guys in their 50s and 60s, the drug overdoses and suicide rates are off the scale.
You know what? And there's one thing we don't need more of. It's straight white middle-aged men.
They've been sold lies. that
the most popular show on TV right now is Dahmer, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story.
Well, I'm not saying they own that. I'm not saying they own that shit, but what I'm saying
and you know what? Mostly women, which is strange because a lot of men I talk to can't even stand to stomach the first episode.
It's well, okay, a couple of points. I think that's the case with most of the men I knew and most of the men I've been privy to. It's like something about that masculinity thing of not wanting to compromise. Like the men that are most open to just compromise and actually for real cohabitating with the people around them live longer. Like it's men who are abandoned who die sooner, but it's like they're generally abandoned because there's some fucking give that's not happening. As I have turned old, I have fucking learned the best thing a man can do is learn how to shut the fuck up. Seriously, like I do not. There's my art wife.
Well, strangely that you're saying that, because the intro to this show is about a woman who cannot hear men's voices. And if only I could inherit that rare disease. True that.
Amazing point, because I actually, going back to my whole thing about the Greeks, generalizations. The crazy cat woman is correct, which is isolation. I'm checking out. I'm surrounded by cats. Fuck you. And then the grumpy old man is a true thing. It's rigidity. I've done this my whole life.
Tim is always against male
and it
rigidity.
should be this way. And the world's bigger than that motherfucker. And
Yeah.
being rigid, and men have to really challenge themselves as they get older,
you know what?
not to be so rigid.
Tim is a great example of not being, he might be a hard man when he needs to be, but he's not a rigid man. Well, he's not Mr. Rigid in the sense of being uptight.
No, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about your point,
Fluid and
which is like, you have to challenge yourself. I actually think it's natural for men as they age to be more rigid based on the constructs that we've grown up on, at least in the last
I'm going to
couple
say
hundred
it
years.
again. Just open wide for Chunky, shut your fucking mouth, and expand your horizons. And with that, I don't really have much more to say, because we could talk the rest of our lives, but we're going to see you next weekend. So I'm just going to say this is the Lydian Spin with Lydia Lunch, Tim Dahl, and that big, black, beautiful weirdo, dancer, writer, performance artist, award-winning motherfucker. That would be Brontez Purnell.
I love you guys.
Beautiful interview. And I'm sorry it's 2 a.m. for me in Warsaw, Poland, but I did my best and you guys are amazing. So I really appreciate that.
I love you guys. Y'all sleep tight.